Ladies and gentlemen, if you had just 2 hours with one of the greatest minds in personal development history, what would you want to learn? Jim Rohn, mentor to millions, including Tony Robbins, gifted us 2 golden hours of pure wisdom on goals. Not fluff, not hype, just timeless truth. Jim didn't just talk about setting goals. He reshaped how we think about them. For him, goals were not mere wishes written on paper. They were visions tied to identity. He often said, "Set a goal to become a millionaire not for the money, but for what it will make of you to achieve it." That one line contains an entire lifetime of transformation. In these 2 hours, Jim Rohn breaks down how goals bring structure to our lives, how they give direction to effort, and how they create discipline in a distracted world. He reminds us that success is not something you pursue, it's something you attract by the person you become. He teaches us to be specific, not vague, plan it, don't wing it, write it down, don't trust memory, chase purpose, not just profit, review regularly, don't drift. These are the building blocks of a life by design, not by default. So, if you're drifting through your days, unsure of what's next, let Jim's words guide you. 2 hours with him can plant seeds that will bear fruit for a lifetime. Because once your goals become clear, so does your path. Don't just listen to Jim Rohn's speech, live it. Jim Rohn begins his timeless lecture on goals with a concept so simple yet so profound: clarity. Most people wander through life with general wishes. I want to be rich. I want to be healthy. I want to be happy. But as Jim often reminds us, you cannot hit a target you cannot see. This is where clarity becomes your superpower. Clarity means taking the time to sit down, reflect, and define precisely what you want. Not what others expect from you, not what sounds good in a social setting, but what you genuinely, deeply, unshakably desire. Let's say you want financial success. What does that mean exactly? Is it earning $10,000 a month? Is it owning a home by the beach? Is it retiring early and traveling the world? The more specific you are, the more likely your brain and energy will begin moving toward it. The mind loves clarity. It avoids confusion like a disease. And Jim Rohn teaches us to feed our minds with laser-sharp clarity. But it doesn't stop there. Jim suggests creating a detailed vision statement. Not just a list of goals, but a full description of your ideal life in vivid detail. What you'll wear, where you'll live, how you'll feel, what time you'll wake up, who you'll serve. Why? Because clarity produces emotion, and emotion is the fuel of commitment. If you can see it clearly, you'll start to feel it. And once you feel it, action becomes natural. Clarity is also the antidote to procrastination. When you don't know exactly what step to take, you stall. But when your goals are specific, your next actions become obvious. Jim's wisdom teaches us that with clarity, we eliminate 80% of the struggle. We stop waking up in doubt and instead start each day with direction. Most people spend more time planning a weekend trip than they do planning their life. Jim Rohn flips that mindset on its head. He urges you to take control, to sit down, open a journal, and get clear. What do you want in 5 years? What legacy do you want to leave? What excites you so much that you can't wait to start? Because once you become clear about your goals, life starts to respond with clarity too. One of the most repeated and most powerful pieces of advice Jim Rohn offers is this: don't just think it, ink it. Writing down your goals isn't a formality, it's a foundation. According to Jim, when you take the time to physically write out your goals, you activate something deeper inside yourself. You signal to your brain, to your emotions, and even to the universe that you mean business. Why does this matter? Because thoughts are fleeting. You can feel inspired in the morning, But by lunchtime that energy fades, and by evening you barely remember what motivated you. But when your goals are written on paper, staring you in the face, they become real. They become tangible commitments, not just hopeful dreams. Jim Rohn often compared the act of writing goals to building a blueprint. Imagine a builder showing up to construct a skyscraper with no plans, just a general idea. It sounds ridiculous. But how many people live their lives this way, floating from one job to another, hoping things will work out? Writing your goals is how you build your life with intent, not guesswork. More than that, the act of writing forces clarity. You can't write down a vague idea and expect it to stick. When you write, you must choose exact words, measurements, and time frames. You don't write, "I want to be healthy." You write, "I will weigh 160 pounds by December 1st. See the difference. One is a desire. The other is a target. Jim also encourages the use of a goal journal, a sacred space where you track your dreams, refine them, and revisit them regularly. He says your journal becomes a mirror to your progress. Every goal you achieve can be checked off with pride. Every failure becomes a lesson you can write about and learn from. There's even a psychological effect here. Neuroscience shows that when we write things down by hand, we encode them more deeply in our brain. It's almost like planting a seed. Over time, those seeds sprout as ideas, opportunities, and decisions that align with your written vision. So don't leave your goals in your head where they're vulnerable to distraction, fear, and doubt. Take them out of the mental fog and put them on paper, where they become promises to yourself. Because when you write it down, you no longer just wish it will happen, you start to work to make it happen. Jim Rohn had a firm belief that goals should not just be comfortable or easily achievable. They should stretch you. In fact, one of his most powerful philosophies is, don't set a goal for what you'll get. Set it for what it will make of you to achieve it. That one statement transforms how we think about personal development. Setting easy goals may give you temporary satisfaction, but they don't change you. They don't make you stronger, wiser, or more disciplined. That's why Jim advocates for big goals. Goals that push the limits of your current capacity. Goals that make you nervous. Goals that demand growth. Think of it this way. If your goal is to run 1 mile, you don't have to become a different person. But if your goal is to run a marathon, you must change how you eat, sleep, train, and think. You'll have to develop discipline, endurance, and focus. The same is true in business, relationships, or any area of life. When you set bigger goals, you force yourself to become a better version of yourself. Jim Rohn also reminds us that a challenging goal creates internal tension, the good kind. This tension drives energy and focus. When a goal is bold enough, you wake up with purpose. You no longer drift. Your actions start aligning with your ambitions, and your life begins to shift direction. It's important to note that Jim isn't promoting unrealistic or fantasy-driven goals. He's not saying, just dream it and it will appear. He's teaching us to find that sweet spot, a goal that is beyond your comfort zone, but within your capacity to pursue if you grow. This is what he calls a growth goal. He also emphasizes urgency. Big goals with far-off deadlines rarely get done. A challenging goal with a near-term deadline makes you act now. You start thinking differently. You eliminate excuses. You become resourceful. And slowly, you transform into someone new. Most people set goals that are safe. Why? Because they're afraid of failure. But Jim Rohn flips the script. The major value of reaching a goal is not to acquire it, but to become the person it took to get it. In other words, the true prize isn't the achievement. It's who you had to become to reach it. That version of you is confident, disciplined, resilient. That version of you can go after even bigger goals. So when you set your goals, don't ask, What's easy? Ask, what will make me grow? Because if the goal doesn't change you, it's probably not worth it. Jim Rohn was adamant about this idea. Most people don't lead their life. They just accept it. They wake up, go to work, come home, scroll through their phones, and repeat the same loop for decades. No intentionality, no passion, no plan, just drifting. Jim calls this the great tragedy of modern living. A life governed by reaction instead of intention. But it doesn't have to be that way. He challenges us to design our lives like an architect designs a building, with precision, creativity, vision, and a clear blueprint. That means choosing your values, setting specific goals, developing daily disciplines, and building systems that take you where you want to go. Your life does not get better by chance, it gets better by change. To change, you must take charge. You must stop being a passenger in your own story and become the author of your journey. You decide how your relationships will feel. You decide what kind of health you want. You decide how wealthy, fulfilled, educated, and generous you'll be. That's the power of personal design. Jim often said that we either make plans or we fall into someone else's. And guess what? They probably don't have much planned for you. That's why so many people end up in unfulfilling jobs, unhealthy routines, and environments that suppress their growth. They didn't choose it. It just happened to them. Drifting is the slow death of potential. Jim's approach to goal setting is an antidote to drifting. He teaches us to set goals in every area of life, not just money or career, but relationships, spiritual growth, physical health, and contribution. Why? Because a well-rounded vision protects you from becoming successful in one area and broken in others. Designing your life also means being present enough to examine it. Take an hour, take a weekend. Sit down with a blank page and ask, what do I want? What do I value? Who do I want to become? What does my ideal day, year, or decade look like? Then, break those answers down into actionable goals. Jim's brilliance is in reminding us that life is short, but it's long enough if you live it right. And living it right begins when you take control, because if you don't design your life, someone else will. And the moment you begin to design it, everything starts to change. Your thoughts, your energy, your relationships, your income, your identity. It all aligns when you're no longer drifting. You're driving. Jim Rohn believed that setting goals is only the beginning. The real transformation comes from regular review and thoughtful reflection. You don't just set your goals on January 1st and forget them. That's how most people fail. They write a goal once, throw it in a drawer, and never look at it again. But Jim taught us that goals are living things. They need attention, they need nurturing, and most importantly, they need tracking. He said, failure is simply a few errors in judgment, repeated every day. Success is a few simple disciplines, practiced every day. And reviewing your goals regularly is one of those simple, but powerful, disciplines. Why is review so important? Because life is dynamic. Your circumstances change, opportunities come and go, new challenges appear. If you don't regularly pause to review your progress, you'll drift off course, often without realizing it. Jim compares this to a ship at sea. A small deviation in direction, if unchecked, can take you thousands of miles off course. But with regular checks, you stay aligned with your destination. Reviewing your goals also keeps them fresh in your mind. When you see them daily or weekly, they influence your decisions. Your brain begins to filter the world differently. Suddenly, you notice opportunities that align with your vision. You think before spending your time or money. You act with intention because your goals are right there, reminding you of your why. Reflection is just as critical. Jim encourages us to take time each week, month, and year to ask powerful questions. What did I do well? What didn't go as planned? What should I stop doing? What should I double down on? What did I learn about myself? This is how wisdom is built. Success leaves clues, but so does failure. Reflection lets you extract the lessons from your experiences so you don't repeat mistakes. You begin to understand your patterns, where you sabotage yourself, where you shine, and where you need support. Jim even suggests having a thinking hour, a quiet time every week where you do nothing but reflect. No phone, no distractions, just you, your journal, and your thoughts. Because in silence, you hear your truth. Most people never stop long enough to think about their lives, but those who do, they live deliberately, they adapt, they grow, they win. So don't just set and forget your goals, revisit them, reflect on them. Rewrite them if needed. Keep them alive, because the review is where course correction happens, and reflection is where real progress is born. One of the most profound lessons Jim Rohn shared about goal setting is the importance of balance. In a world that constantly pushes us to hustle, grind, and chase success at all costs, Jim reminded us that a life well lived is not one-dimensional. True fulfillment comes not just from hitting financial milestones, but from creating harmony across all key areas of life. He once said, "Success is not just making money. Success is making progress in every area that matters to you." Jim believed that a person could be a millionaire and still be poor if they're bankrupt in health, relationships, character, or peace of mind. That's why he encouraged us to set goals in 5 core areas. 1. Personal development goals. Who are you becoming? What skills do you want to learn? What kind of mind set do you want to develop? 2. Financial goals. How much do you want to earn, save, and invest? What kind of lifestyle do you want to create and sustain? 3. Health goals. How do you want to feel physically? What habits will support your long-term vitality? 4. Relationship goals. What kind of spouse, parent, friend, or leader do you want to be? What kind of connections matter most to you? 5. Spiritual or contribution goals. What higher purpose do you serve? How do you want to give back to your community or the world? Why is this balance important? Because imbalance leads to burnout, regret, and emptiness. Imagine achieving career success but having no one to share it with, or building wealth at the cost of your health. These are the traps that so many fall into when they pursue goals with tunnel vision. Jim's philosophy is grounded in wholeness. He teaches us to live with intention in all areas of life. When you're growing in your career, nurturing your health, investing in your relationships, and expanding your mind, you begin to feel an internal alignment. Life flows, energy multiplies, you become magnetic, and here's the surprising part. Balance doesn't mean giving equal time to everything. It means giving appropriate time to what matters most in each season of life. Sometimes your business will need more attention. Other times your family will. The goal is not perfection. It's awareness. Jim also warned against chasing success in public while failing in private. That's why he encouraged people to do the inner work, to define what success looks like to them, and to set goals accordingly. Because a balanced life isn't something you stumble into. It's something you design on purpose. So as you set your goals, don't just ask, how much money do I want to make? Ask, who do I want to become? What kind of energy do I want to carry? Who do I want to experience life with? How do I want to feel, live, and give? Because when your goals are balanced, your life becomes beautiful, not just successful. If there's one principle that defines Jim Rohn's philosophy on success, it's this: set a goal to become a millionaire, not for the money, but for what it will make of you to achieve it. At the heart of this idea is a deep truth. Your goals don't just demand action, they demand transformation. You see, most people focus on what they want: better income, more freedom, a healthier body, stronger relationships. But they often overlook the real question: Who do I need to become to achieve that? That's where the magic lies. Jim Rohn teaches that you don't get what you want. You get what you are. Your current results in life are simply a reflection of the person you are today. If you want new results, you need to upgrade your identity, your habits, your discipline, your thinking. Let's say your goal is to build a successful business. That's not just about creating a product or launching a website. That goal requires you to become someone who is focused and consistent, resilient under pressure, a student of leadership and communication, someone who manages time and energy with precision. You don't just do those things. You become the kind of person who does them naturally. This concept is powerful because it shifts your attention inward. Instead of chasing outcomes, you start investing in your growth. And when you grow, your capacity increases, your confidence grows, your decisions improve, and eventually, the results you once dreamed of become inevitable. Jim often said that success is not to be pursued. It is to be attracted by the person you become. That means you must become more valuable. Not in the eyes of the world, but in your habits, your mindset, your character. So every time you write down a goal, follow it up with this question: what kind of person would naturally achieve this goal? Then begin becoming that person. If you want better health, become someone who respects their body. If you want wealth, become someone who manages money wisely. If you want love, become someone who gives love freely. The goal is not just the end point. The real reward is you at the next level, the you who is stronger, wiser, bolder, and more aligned. This is why Jim's approach to goal setting isn't just about achievement, it's about transformation. The journey shapes you, and in the end, the person you become is far more valuable than the trophy you collect. Because goals don't just change your circumstances, they change your soul.